Welcome back, everybody. This is the Laugh Cry Club podcast. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
We are here for you as licensed therapists to fix all of your problems. So you have found the number one podcast for your life. We will fix everything that you need, right, Rebecca? Isn't that what we're going to do?
Yeah. I mean, if you need something, send us a message. We actually know a lot. We actually know a little about a lot.
We know a little about a lot.
If it's even something maybe about your car, we could maybe help you.
Hey, you know, I listened to many years of Car Talk.
Oh my
Do you remember that show? Isn't that the Click and Clack?
Yes, I actually
That's
used to work for an NPR station back in the day, and that was one of the shows I had to put on.
Oh, I didn't
loved
know.
it.
Oh, Click and Clack is like, it will always remind me of my dad. My dad loves that show. And so
good.
like, even now he will play reruns because sadly, you know, one of the hosts passed away a handful of years ago. And so he'll just play reruns of the show, and it's just really cute. He loves it.
It's comforting. I feel like their voices are very comforting.
They're so cute, and they both have like really cute voices and laughs, and it just makes me laugh. And they crack each other up. Yeah. It's great. If you don't know what we're talking about, we are Gen X. And so that's probably why you might be a generation that's younger than us, and that's fine. But it is a iconic show that was on NPR for years.
Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers.
The Tappet Brothers.
NPR.
And they were mechanics, and people would call in, which I loved their accents too.
Oh, yeah.
One of the callers came in, and she was, I don't know, they were talking about something about the car, and they were like really stressed about this car. One of the hosts goes, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a car. And I always think about that, like if I get a little scratch on my car, I'm like, it's just a car. So
it is
just very soothing voices. So we don't anticipate that we will be as iconic as the Tappet Brothers, but we hope that we are soothing voices that bring you laughter. We are the Laugh Cry Club. We talk about hard things. We talk about happy things. We talk about sometimes true crime, real crime on this podcast, but we are here for you. So over 20 years of experience, we are licensed therapists. If you have any question or want us to solve a problem in your world, you can email us laughcryclub@gmail.com. We pick a topic every week to kind of dive into. This week, we thought it would be interesting to talk about nature versus nurture, because there's a lot of things, like we've talked about crime before, where we're both interested in forensics and forensic psychology, where my interest really peaked when I was younger around psychology, because I always wanted to know, how did people get to be where they are?
Yeah.
Like what made this person, I always see like a fork in the road, and I see two paths, and I see, if you had all of these things happen to you when you were younger, you could have gone this way or you could have gone that way, you know, the fork in the road. And what makes someone who had a really hard life go on the positive path, and what made someone maybe even with a positive upbringing go on a negative path, you know? It's very, very interesting to me. And there's a lot of arguments out there that you can kind of like pinpoint a time in your life or two that would result in you picking the path that you choose. But I think it's a very nuanced conversation.
You know, this actually just came up for me last week. I was in a therapy session, my personal therapy session, and I was talking about some imposter syndrome and a presentation that I'm going to be preparing to give. And I'm not one that really likes to do presentations. If I can get on and I was saying, like, I'd be happy to do improv comedy on the stage. I'd much rather do that than some presentation. And so we were just chit-chatting about this, and she said something to me like, you know, like they say like 75% of your life is already set when you're born. And I'm like, what? I was like, you know, I'm like, I don't believe that. And so I started looking into it more, and I don't know if it's really 75%, but it's quite a bit. And so the reason it came up, because she was telling me, like, you know, you were born, like, you can't control the time period you were born. You can't control what state you were born, the time of day you were born, who your parents are. You can't control where you were raised. So there's a lot of things that are out of your control because you can't make decisions at that point. And it's just like, all of a sudden you're born one day and you don't get to choose that. And that, like, say if I was born in 75, if I was born in 1880, I wouldn't even be worried about a presentation.
Right. You'd be
like, it was like that, like,
yeah.
Like some of this stuff, like you just don't even get to choose. Like these are maybe, I guess, like to look at as like these are options or blessings that you even get to do this.
Options or blessings. Well, I was also pulling up some research because I was curious around studies. And of course, the biggest research study was, I believe it was 2015 meta-analysis. They analyzed more than 14 million twin pairs. 14 million twin pairs. That is a huge, huge study.
That's a lot.
Just about 18,000 traits and 50 years of twin research. Like, can you imagine? And then across all traits studied, the average reported heritability was approximately 49%. That's almost 50. It's almost like a 50-50 split here where you're like, okay, is it nature versus nurture? And really we want to frame it more as like nature interacting with nurture. So it's nature and nurture interacting instead of being like, is it nature or is it nurture? It's like they both interact together. So that's really interesting to me. Like, does that,
so they're saying
it doesn't mean
50% is kind of set genetic wise, or
it doesn't mean every individual person is 50% nature and 50% nurture. It's the genetic differences explained about half of the variation on average. So heritability describes the differences within a population. It doesn't tell us like what percentage of one's personality was caused by genes. It describes differences, but it's like, it doesn't tell us, I think like to the point here, it's very, very nuanced. And there's always going to be these studies, right? And there's always going to be outliers. So outliers are like, well, I knew a friend who blah, 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 blah. You know, there's always going to be outliers. And I think that is something.
And outliers doesn't mean that the research was wrong or it's incorrect. Honestly, I see that a lot in arguments today. Like, but so-and-so does this, so that can't
totally
be true, right? And it's like, it's called an outlier. Yeah. It doesn't mean we throw out the whole research.
Right.
Or that vaccines are good for you. We don't just throw them all out because a certain percentage, maybe they weren't good for them.
Well, politicians love to grab outliers because then it fits their narrative.
Exactly.
And
sorry, I digressed.
No, but I mean, it's very true. Like when we're just talking about studies in general, there's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be an exception to the rule. But I just find this so interesting as a discussion because it's like, you know, what causes a person to behave the way that they're going to behave as an adult? And so just for you, Rebecca, like take yourself as an example. What you see, just like an inherited personality trait, because I can easily think of like a personality trait of mine, which is I'm more introverted. I've always been, I don't want to say on the shy side, but I would say on this, and not even skeptical is the right word. I have had to observe before I kind of like jump into a scenario. When I was a kid, I remember people approaching me and I was always very quiet and observant before I was fully comfortable talking to them. So if it was like a stranger or if it was someone who came over, I was not just running up to them being like, let's go play. I was raising an eyebrow. Who are you? And do I want to be nice to you? And that still is a trait that I have where I am always hesitant, a little skeptical. I kind of have to warm up to somebody before I can like fully, I'll be pleasant, of course, but I don't fully trust people, but not out of like, oh, I just learned to not trust people because of a nature thing. It was just an inherent behavior that I remember as a kid. I still have memories of being that way. So that's kind of something that I think of when I think of something that's inherited.
That's interesting. I think most of the time when I think about things inherited, I go to like just features, structure of your build, how your body is built or your face, or like people are like, oh, you look just like so-and-so or that way. And you can just kind of see, like, I've just looked at different family members' pictures and I'm like, wow, they all look, there's very similarities here. But as far as like personality, I think we're probably funny. Something that's come up for me recently that I've discovered that I 100% believe genetic, and this might get, it maybe not our listeners, but some listeners might get riled up about it. But we have in my family, and this is particularly on my mother's side of the family, I've kind of traced it back. So out of my 6 cousins on my mom's side, 3 of us are gay. 50%. Is that not shocking? I mean, and then I started talking to a cousin and they're like, yeah, our aunt used to talk about, oh, this woman that used to live on our farm and she never had a husband and we all just kind of knew. And it's like, and then I look at some of the kids that they would be my second cousins who are also gay. And it's like, can't dispute some of this genetic traits because it's nobody on my father's side has come out at all. And so I'm just like, that's a lot of people.
That is interesting. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all from that side of the family, which, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's whatever. It's how people are born.
Right.
But yeah, that genetic profile that I think like it just happened and it's very prevalent on that side of the family.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Do you think there's a part of your personality that your family specifically shaped?
A part of my personality, probably being compassionate and being open-minded.
Yeah, like values. Did you have strong values growing up? Like your family was
right
like,
and wrong.
Right and wrong.
Like follow the rules.
Right.
Those were that's that nurture part though, right? That's nurture, I feel like, with values. Do the right thing. Be kind to people. Treat people with respect. Help people out. Don't look at other people. Don't other people. If somebody is a different color or ethnicity, whatever, like we just accept them.
Yeah. If
They're
someone has
welcome
a
at our
disability, like you don't treat anyone differently. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thinking about 2 or 3 episodes ago when we were talking about the Mackenzie Shirla case, when you were talking about like family values, here's a nurture situation where Mackenzie Shirla's parents were like sitting on this Netflix documentary, no accountability, no awareness of other people. I would argue that, I mean, they think they do. That's the thing. They think they do, but it's very clear that their nurture was not inherently compassionate, not inherently thinking of other people. The value system was, I would argue, non-existent, but I think they thought they had values. Mm-hmm. And I think that was really what influenced that scenario. Like if we're going to talk about, nature and nurture, I'm like, that was definitely a lack in the nurture department. So that's an example where I'm like, yeah, Mackenzie Shirla could be inherently, maybe she's got some genetics that have a personality that's like really outgoing, but the nurture part was so void of compassion, self-awareness, that it completely ruined her life. That to me is like in psychology is fascinating, where it's like that's where these weird storms happen. And it's, I would argue too, that a lot of this is going to be, passed down through families, generational trauma maybe, where
Yeah, of course. Generational trauma is very much a part of it. I think it's interesting to think of like nature versus nurture as like, I was reading, there's say a predetermined baseline. So we all have like a baseline, and that the predetermined would be the historical context. What century were you born into? What access do you have to technology? Like we have a lot more technology than you would like 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
And your socioeconomic starting point. Some of us are born into really rich families, some middle class, some in poverty. Then what we have is the free will space. This is where we have personal decisions. It's our attitude, our growth. How do we respond to things? Like if there's a crisis, how do we respond to it? That's free will. So some of this, we can't control the time and space we're in. But then there is this additional part that we do have free will and we can make certain decisions.
So I think the interesting piece where it's like we have this free will, so much of it has to do with the environment that we're in, that we can't think beyond our environment sometimes, especially if you're younger. So if you're born into poverty, that is all you know. So you can't think beyond that space of maybe what is possible because you're just looking at survival. So if we're looking at hierarchy of needs, you're looking at surviving. And that
also
to me
lack
is
of
like,
access.
Yeah. And
right?
lack of,
we know that.
Yeah, right.
People in poverty have lack of access to medical care, education, et cetera, et cetera.
As we're kind of moving through our life and also giving grace to each other is understanding where we come from, and that we may think that here's an example. I like to give grace in certain scenarios. I'm sure I've mentioned before, we've talked about like the neighborhood cameras in my neighborhood, like when people aren't picking up their poop and like the neighborhood shaming. You know how we talked about that before, where I was like, it's just a matter of time before I'm on this camera. And like, I can't remember I talked about this, so sorry if this is a repeat, but I'm going to say it again, is like, there was someone that was posted on the Facebook page. It was like, they took a screenshot of this woman who was with her dog and they asked like, you pooped on my driveway, blah, blah, blah. They got like all pissed off. They were posting this woman on the Facebook page. And I said, I just couldn't help it because I don't like public shaming. I think that's really inappropriate. I think there's better ways to go about it. So when they posted this, I was like, I got to weigh in. I don't usually comment because nothing good happens out of comments, but I couldn't help myself because I'm like, public shaming is so bad. So I was like, hey, would you ever consider that this person forgot a dog bag and they were like really trying to rush out of there because they were so embarrassed? forest. Have you considered, we've all had bad days where I told the story before where, one of my dogs like had diarrhea on someone's lawn and I was like, oh, I can't do anything about this. It's water. I can't pick it up, So like, right. Can you give grace? And to me, that is like a personality trait where I'm trying to give grace here, where someone else is just so like their reaction is going to be, I'm pissed off. I need you to know this. And I need everyone to be aware of this person in our neighborhood who leaves their dog poop everywhere. How are we going to approach other people? And how are we ever going to become a better society if we're always just approaching this from like assuming the worst in others? Can we at least use these tools as well of like nature versus nurture of how we become better people? So just because that you're, and I don't want to say like playing victims here, but like, are you using how you were raised maybe as an excuse for your limitations, lashing out at other people, or this is just how I've always done it? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, can we challenge ourselves to be a little bit better? And that's a hard one for me too. My husband and I had an argument the other day where he was like, I need to give you some feedback about blah, 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 blah. And I have I know this sounds really bad.
Let me time out. Let me check you for a second. Does this little face look like it's ready for feedback? The way you're like, I need to give you feedback. Like, what are you, my like boss? Like, you need to step back, sir.
And it was like, it was kind of an argument that we've had before, which drives me crazy because I hate arguments that repeat because I want to be like, how are we still talking about this? So I had to take like a bitter pill because as much as I try to be self-aware, one of my downfalls is I don't like to be wrong. And I don't ever, well, I shouldn't say ever. I know that I have faults and I try to really, 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 really dig into that. But when I feel like in the right and that I don't feel heard, I will not be accepting your feedback. Like, so that's like a fault of mine where I'm like, oh,
I'm sure your face says it too.
It does. I do like I'm sorry, like, what are you talking about? So that is something for me to reflect on of like, oh, okay, where have I felt shame before? Where have I felt like when I'm wrong, I am threatened, looking at this like as a personality trait. So let's talk about this too of like, when does like, that's just how I am become an excuse to like not change? So given the examples I just gave, someone posting that and be like, well, that's just how I am. I want to call people out. Or me just now saying, well, that's just how I am. I think, you need to hear me before I can accept feedback. Is that an excuse to like not change?
100%. It's not an excuse to not change. I would say what it is, it's a communication tactic of shutting a conversation down. I'm kind of pulling this into, say, like Gottman therapy, which is a couples relationship therapy. And they talk about communication all the time. And it's really great stuff. So look it up. They talk about ways in which people try to shut conversations down in relationships, couples, but this applies to anybody. When you say, that's just how I am, I 100% believe that's let me stop this conversation because it's really uncomfortable and I want to escape this for some reason. It shuts the other person down. It's like, oh, I don't have time for this right now. I got other stuff to do. Can we talk about this later? Those are all cutting communication off.
Right. And like, that's just how I am is almost a way of like, well, I'm just direct and you have to handle it.
Just need to accept this.
Yeah. It's weird.
You married this.
Yes. You knew what you're getting into. This is just who I am. And I'm not saying I don't do that. I think a lot of us, there's times when I have to really check myself because it can be really hard for me to, give some flexibility around these types of conversations where I just want to be like, no, listen to me and tell me I'm right. But when people are just like, I'm just direct. I hear this a lot on reality shows, which you guys know that I love, but people would just be like, I'm just being honest. And I think of the Taylor Swift song where it's like, so casually cruel in the name of being honest, where it's like, you're giving someone this like hard truth, but you're like, I'm just being honest with you. It's really a way of being like, how do I untangle this here? How do I explain this? When someone is cruel, but they're like, I'm just being honest with you. I know I'm having a hard time like naming what's going on there.
Okay. I think the person that says, I'm just being honest with you, it's a defense tactic and saying, whoa, don't get mad at me. I'm just being honest with you.
Yes.
Like, I'm doing you a favor. So you need to check yourself. So yeah, it's all about defenses.
Yes.
And lack of accountability. I want to say that I think a lot of people do want to accept accountability for their, like, I feel like you probably would like to accept accountability for your behaviors, but there are times when we are all like, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to look at myself in this moment, like, so could not do it. And so I think it doesn't mean that we can't look at ourselves. It's just, I think at times we get caught off guard and we don't want to look at ourselves. And so the person that says, this is just who I am, that's maybe we don't want to take accountability at that moment. And the person that says, I'm just being honest with you, doesn't want to take accountability for maybe their poor delivery of said information.
Yeah. Or I just had another thought because I'm trying. This is hard to really name because I'm trying to figure it. And I'm sure it's different for a lot of different people. But in general, it's a way to avoid the truth. It's a way to avoid saying the truth in a very deep and honest way. Let's pretend that someone is breaking up and they're like, I'm just not feeling this connection. Someone's feelings are hurt. And they're like, well, I'm just being honest with you. Instead of just being like, let's sit with this uncomfortable feeling because I'm here feeling. It's a way for them to relieve themselves of the difficult news they just had to share. Instead of being like, what I just shared was kind of a jerk thing to say. Then they immediately say, well, I'm just being honest, as a way to relieve themselves of that guilt.
Right.
Would you think about that too, maybe?
Oh, yeah. That's part of it as well. People's communication is so interesting.
It's so interesting.
I would encourage anybody listening to this, listen to yourself for the rest of the day. Listen to other people intently. What words are they actually using? What's the tone? Like, break it down. And just see, like, if you notice any of this stuff, like, are there some deflections happening? Are people trying to shut a conversation down that you didn't really recognize? Or are you trying to shut it down and you didn't know it? I
think it shows up I guess, like, you can get a lot of insight quickly with the people that you're closest to. For example, my partner, so like in the morning we wake up, like, how do you greet one another? How are you feeling when you see that person? How do you interact in a way that's like, maybe you're not a morning person. Are you grumpy? Do you shut down? Do you greet your partner first? Vice versa. This is a really, like, kind of back to the point of all this conversation with, like, nature versus nurture, is a nice way. The whole purpose of having this conversation is continuing to look at our behaviors and just being curious about how we handle different scenarios, why we handle it the way that we handle it. This is not meant to overanalyze every single interaction you have. I've said that before, but can you look at this and be like, oh, this is an automatic behavior that might be inherited. This might be an automatic behavior that it's so deep rooted that I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, but I can be aware of it. And where can I then take my environment and be like, I can be a different person in this environment, and I can be a little bit more aware than just going into autopilot into going default mode. Because what we've talked about before, in a lot of the behaviors that we talk about, we automatically go to default mode because that's just how we are wired. We're wired for survival. We're going to go to the thing that's the easiest thing to reach for. So change is a threat. Change is scary. But in these instances, especially with interacting with each other, and can we just be a little kinder because the world is so mean right now? Can we look at our behaviors and just question it, take a pause, and be like, this might be such an automatic thing because this is how I was raised, and this was what I saw around me. And a lot of clients, I'll say this too, where it's like, the beliefs that you have, where did those come from? Like, if someone says, well, I can't move out of state. Okay, why? Well, that's just like, our family's always lived in this state. Okay, so why can't you move out of state? So like, these beliefs are so ingrained. Right. I want us to open our mind. And when we open our mind to a lot of other things. And then you influence the people around you to open their minds. And then you influence your children to open their minds. So you're like breaking these patterns, which I think is so important in today's age, that we stop working on autopilot. Now, look, I get it. We can't like be self-aware 24 hours a day. But what I am asking is for like some pauses in our day. And I will do it too. We'll all do it and be like, oh yeah, I really could be better in this scenario.
Really what you're saying is we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control, or we do have control control over how we show up.
Yeah, it's like
we have the opportunity to do something different.
We have the opportunity, because I hear a lot about the argument of like, life isn't about, what do they say? What's the saying? It's like, life is all about how you, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. I have like a little bit of a reaction to that, because I'm like, there's some scenarios where like you truly have a pass to like be a total jerk. Like if something really horrible happens to you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to act like it's sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? Like if something like really traumatic happens to me and I have like 2 years in a deep depression, it feels a little blamey to be like, well, life's how you react to it. So I don't want to blanket statement that.
Well, that makes it sound like easy, right? Like
Exactly.
it's a switch you can flip.
Exactly. Like it's not a switch you can
mental health
flip.
is not easy.
No. So I don't 1000% agree with that statement. I understand the sentiment, because like if someone wrongs you, you don't want to hold on to that forever and ever and ever. But maybe you have a little resentment tucked away in there. I still do. I still think about it's been years, and it's kind of like this is like the 5-year mark when all the stuff happened with me at Kaiser. And I have less and less every year of resentment, but I really needed that resentment. I needed to feel angry, and I will not apologize for that, because I never let it hold me back. I moved on to do kick-ass things and will continue to do so, but I needed that resentment. And so I don't think it's always this blanket, life is not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And I also think it's okay to have really shitty reactions, because we're human and we kind of have to fall on our face sometimes. It's me also saying here that's like, I take issue with some of the positive psychology rhetoric that's kind of almost like they've turned it into some toxic positivity type of stuff.
They have. I think it's like things happen. You have a chance to, or an opportunity to decide how you want to show up, how you want to react. You may react as an asshole, but if you react as an asshole, you still have the opportunity to repair if there's been harm and say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was a dick. Let me explain to you why I felt that way. It's not an excuse, but this is just what had happened to me previously, why I was in this mindset.
Yeah.
And then move on.
And I also like the scenario, or at least I like this way of thinking about the cards that you've been dealt, in terms of life. And I say this a lot in therapy too. It's like, yeah, I heard this the other day and I really like it. And I'm trying to think of what episode. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I lose track, but I want to say it might have been an Oprah show. It might have been the Dharma Lab. I have listened to so many podcasts this week, but they're basically saying like, we have this idea that life should be easy. Let me rephrase that. I think they said that like life, that like good things, mostly good things should happen to us.
We do have that, don't we?
And so when
trying not to have any bad things happen.
Exactly. And
it's true.
And I was like, I know I've heard some version of that before, but that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I was like, oh yeah, I try to live my life like swirling around avoiding conflict, which I think we all do. But the way that he phrased it, I think it was a grief podcast. In any event, it was the Anderson Cooper All There Is podcast, because it's all about grief. It's all about hard things. And when a father who had lost his daughter to brain cancer was like, we go throughout our life thinking that like good things should happen, that we're good people, good things should happen to us. Bad things happen to bad people, good things, and we know that that's not true, but we kind of innately just start to live our life that way. So when bad things
gaslight ourselves into thinking that.
Yes. And so he's like, when bad things happen, it kind of not, of course, the death of their daughter at such a young age continues to rock their world. But that also mindset of, if we continue to live our life, that like good things only happen to us, or should only happen to, whatever belief you have around that, like explore that a little bit. Because my exploration was like, oh yeah, I try to live my life every day of like, of course we don't want to live constantly in fear, but the expectation is that like good things are going to happen. We could also go into the like gaslighting, and not even gaslighting. We could go into the realm of the toxic positivity of like manifestation, which can also turn toxic. But I think what needs to happen is not this like pendulum swing of either or, but this middle ground of living in a present life. If we go to the mindfulness work of like living in the present, that our expectations are also kind of setting us up to fail sometimes. Because if we're like constantly being like, well, I'm just going to really, really hang on to this thing that like good things can only happen in my life. So when bad things do happen, you're like, it's like a double blow. I really like that like awareness piece. It's scary to even think about, because I'm like, I don't want bad things to happen. But it's not about, I think it's more about just like understanding that we have no control about like certain things that are going to happen to us in our life. Like these parents never imagine in their wildest dreams that they would lose their daughter to brain cancer. And so like, how do you sit with that? Is this like, okay, this happened and we're a good family, but this bad thing happened. There's almost this layer of like guilt of what did we do wrong in this lifetime? It kind of brings like God is like this almighty power that's like, okay, this family gets brain cancer. Like that's not how it works.
No, I mean, that's the whole, like somebody getting an illness like that is out of our control, right? That's kind of the nature part.
It's just
happen,
this like
the nature part.
Yeah, life. Not to distill it into this like simplistic thing, but it really is like a game. We do not choose the playing pieces that come to our life. You know, some people have like a lot of advantage. They're born into extreme wealth. Really bad things can happen to them too. Like Anderson Cooper talks about this, where he was born into extreme wealth. He experienced insane tragedy. His brother died by suicide at a very young age. His dad passed away when he was 10 years old. He, you know, like a lot of grief, a lot of tragedy. So, but he obviously had wealth to leverage that to get a great career, but people also start with like incredibly difficult circumstances and can rise to the same thing. So yes, on some level, I want to make this clear, like, yes, life is kind of this game. It's like how you play the pieces, but at the same time, like a lot of it's out of our control. When I'm playing like Monopoly or something, it's kind of like, well, or we played this really cute game. I can't remember the name of it. It was kind of like it was like this math game, which I'm so not good at math. I was playing it with my cousins when they were visiting, and it truly does have to do with like the cards you're literally dealt. It was kind of like, I can't remember the name of it. I should text my cousin to
Sequence?
No, it's, I don't know.
No, I want to know what the math game is.
Hold on. Let me text her while we're recording. She'll text me back here shortly. But it was literally a card game that like you could not play. You couldn't take a turn if you didn't have the right cards. And I kind of I know, again, I don't want to dumb this down to this like simple thing, but it is kind of a way to think about life. It's like, I just don't have these cards right now. You know? Oh, she's texting me. Here it is. It's Rummy Cube.
Oh yeah.
So
were
like
they cubes?
No, it was
cards.
Like, it was cards. So it was basically, and it was a pretty cool game. I'd never played before. So it was like, and her and her husband are huge math nerds. So we had to like do all these like matching and numbers, and like it was.
That's
I think
cool.
there's a million versions of Rummy, but like this was it was called Rummy Cube. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna look it up.
It's actually really cool. Like it stretched my brain in a way where I'm like, I should probably do this more often to keep me sharp. Because
especially at this age you are.
Yeah. Oh, she goes, and we have the deluxe version with the extra jokers, but there's also a version with just the regular jokers.
Deluxe version.
They have the deluxe version. So we played the deluxe version with extra jokers. All that's cool. To say is like, what's that country song? Life's a game you learn as you go.
Oh, sometimes you lose, sometimes you follow. And you don't know. Life's a dance you learn as you go.
Life's a dance. Life's a dance.
I forget who sings that. That's a 90s country
That's a
song.
90s country.
So essentially, I think in closing here,
yeah.
What do you have control over? Think of that. Like your choices, your responses, your habits. What can you influence? You can influence your relationships around you, your health. You can influence by certain decisions you make. You can
drink your water, eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can influence your future direction in life by certain things you choose to do. And then accepting what you don't control, which is your genetics. Other people's choices they made for you. Like if your parents have said, guess what? You're going to be in dance, and there you go. And circumstances you were born into. You don't control those things. It's really kind of where we have a floor and ceiling. The floor is what we start with, what we're born with, in the time period, the environment we're born into. And then we have all this other space where we get to make decisions. It's called free will.
Try it out, kind of see where you're like, wow, I was born with this. This is feeling really innate versus where can I stretch myself a little bit? And you know, when you're being stretched and you're being challenged and you're changing as a person is when it feels really uncomfortable. And I hate it too.
It feels very uncomfortable. So anytime you feel uncomfortable, think of that as that's actually really positive. That's change.
That's change. This is a card that I'm able to play. How am I literally going to play this card right now? Because like the other night when I was telling you I had that conversation with my husband, we were like kind of having the same argument again. I sat there and I was like, okay, where can I be different here? When normally I would be like, I'm really wanting to react with this way, or I want to get up and leave. I'm one of those people when I get frustrated, I just like walk out of the room because I don't want to finish the conversation.
I can see that. You're like, out.
So I'm like, where can I just stay in my body and like just stay here? Just stay here and just like listen. And I did. And it was like, okay. And so, I mean, and this is after what? Like we've been together since 2005, 2006. We've been together for a really long time.
Yeah.
So even after a lot of years together and a lot of the relationships that you're in, even whether it be family, friends, that, you know, just sit back and be a little bit of an observer, be an investigator, challenge yourself. We're all in this together. It's all in the name of being better humans.
Well, and if you have something that you want to message us about or talk to us about, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at laughcryclub@gmail.com and follow us on all the socials. We'd love to hear from you. We love meeting with you all every week.
We are here for you. We'll see you next week. Have a great day. We love you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.